here we are. There's just two of us here, but I hope some of you are able to watch us at home. We're in our 7th week, which I call it optional, but I'm not going to call it optional in the future. I put a lot of work into this, and I think it's some good stuff. So if you weren't able to come here live, I hope you get to appreciate it where you are. It's just Joanne and me here tonight. So this is about mindfulness of physical pain. A lot of us have a lot of pain, and I've learned in the last couple of years studying this how powerful these meditation techniques can be in helping us to deal with it. We're going to start off with, I'm going to talk with a little bit about the physiology of breathing. The main work of breathing is done by the diaphragm, which is a dome-shaped muscle that separates the abdomen from the chest. And this muscle is suspended by ligaments, like bungee cords, to the ribs, the spine, the sternum, and the heart. So when the body feels a need to take a breath, the diaphragm contracts and flattens, stretches on those bungee cords, and that expands the lungs. Then there's a relative vacuum there and the air comes in. And then when the diaphragm relaxes, the air goes out again. So oxygen comes in, carbon dioxide goes out. It's all a natural process. We can think about it and control it, but we don't have to. The body knows how to breathe automatically. But there is some effort involved. There's not conscious effort, but unconscious, that the diaphragm contracts and goes down. But what I found was particularly interesting is that, of course, not only does it expand the lungs, but it pushes on all the organs in the belly. So every time we breathe, it's like we're massaging all our organs down there. In fact, the kidneys move about an inch every time we breathe. They kind of rub up against the spine. So that massaging of all the organs kind of helps them. It helps them to get rid of their waste products. So it's quite amazing. Now, there's a few other muscles in the upper chest that help with breathing, but the diaphragm does most of that work. So I'm going to do a little guided meditation now, focusing on breathing, particularly in the core. So let's find our meditation posture and sit quietly. Feel our body planted here firmly. And notice where we feel the breath in the belly. Notice that with every in-breath, the belly expands forward. And with the out-breath, it relaxes backward. Can you feel that? Now, if we try, we can usually notice how it expands backward too. Can you feel the lower back expanding backwards? You can feel the belly expanding outward to the right and left, both sides. You can bring your attention up into the breath. Feel the chest expanding forward on the in-breath and relaxing down on the out-breath. Perhaps you can feel it in your upper chest up into the collarbones. Just notice the movement of the body with each in-breath and each out-breath. Notice how the chest expands backward with the in-breath also, and relaxes with the out-breath. Perhaps you can feel it pushing against the back of the chair. And the sides of the chest expand outward with the in-breath and come back with the in-breath, out-breath. Now, notice if you can, where does it feel like the breath begins? Many people notice it starts deep down in the belly and then expands gradually upward. Notice the whole the feeling of the whole belly and chest breathing, expanding with the in-breath, contracting and relaxing with the out-breath. And we can notice, with the help of our imagination perhaps, notice this breath expanding out into the whole body. The oxygen-enriched blood through the heart out into all the body, giving us the energy to live. And with the out-breath, the carbon dioxide, the byproduct of our respiration, is breathed out into the atmosphere. Just sitting and feeling the body breathing. And we can relax into the room.
And it's funny how we take breathing so for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Don't realize how it's really affecting us.
Mm-hmm. Once we start meditating, we notice what a great tool it is. It's there for us all the time to turn to.
Right, yeah. Something you don't even think about, you just do it.
That's what's so wonderful about it. You don't have to think.
Right.
All those thoughts, we can let them go. Well, I'm going to talk now a little bit about pain.
Okay.
About 40, 50 years ago, there were a couple of scientists who were studying pain and arrived at what's called the gate theory of pain. And they found that pain is experienced in the body and is transmitted by nerve fibers up to the brain where we really notice it. But in the spinal cord, before it gets to the brain, there are gates, they call them, that allow the sensation to get to the brain. And they found that sometimes these gates kind of close so we don't feel the pain. So I'm sure we've noticed this sometimes when we hit ourselves, let's say, with a hammer or do some minor thing, but we're real busy doing stuff, we hardly feel it at all at first, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that gate, because our brain is occupied with other things, so the gate kind of shuts down and the pain is not felt. So that shows that we have potentially some control over it, what we feel. Now, this is especially true with chronic pain. They found that when you have chronic pain that lasts and lasts and lasts, a big component of it is not the sensation coming up from the body, but the emotional response we have to it in the brain. Remember, we talked about the hand model of the brain. The spinal cord brings sensation up into the brain stem. But then there's the limbic system that these sensations are filtered by up into the cortex, and the limbic system is about emotions. So chronic pain is often, there's a lot more about we're reacting to the pain with fear and worry, and that makes us feel it so much more. So meditation, we've found, we can help lower that, and so we actually experience less pain. Even though it's still there, we don't suffer as much. We can handle it better. Some of the things we're going to work on tonight are some techniques that have been found to help with that. Now, there's this handout I gave last week that you can all look at, and it talks about 4 different typical ways in which we handle pain. The first way is blocking. We notice a pain, we don't like it, we want to get rid of it. That's normal. And we do a lot of things to help us feel better. Let me look at your handout there a minute, Joy, on that purple one. So some of the things we typically do when we have pain to get rid of it would be to take some medication.
Right.
And that's reasonable. It often helps. But we have a lot of other ways we try to deal with the pain too. We get busy, we push through the pain. Sometimes we tense against the discomfort, saying, "Ew, I don't like this," that's a reaction. A lot of people eat too much because of the pain. Very common. Or drink too much. So some of these things work for a while, but after a while, they cause more harm than good, and we're not really dealing with it. Now, the second way that many of us respond to pain is by what they call drowning. Now, we don't do this intentionally, but sometimes it happens when we have so much pain, we keep blocking it and blocking it, it gets overwhelming. And we just say, oh, I can't do this any longer. We get depressed, panicky, I can't stand this. And a lot of it is about worrying that it's never going to go away. So those are two common ways, and there are two other ways in which mindfulness helps. So the first one is about noticing it and letting it go, which is what we've been studying in our mindfulness. We notice the breath, we notice thoughts come and go, and we let the thoughts go. And we can do the same with pain, and we all do this. We can learn to do it anyway. We notice a pain and we say, oh, it hurts right now. It's not too bad. I'm just going to breathe through it. So we notice it, and then we let it go from the primary focus of our attention. We kind of can let it go, just like those thoughts, and come back to the breath. Let the pain go. Now it's still there, but it's easier when we can do that. So letting go of the pain is a skill that we're learning in mindfulness. And there's another skill that's even more advanced, let's say, helpful. And this is actually turning toward the pain. So I'm going to do a guided meditation later that talks about this, how we can make the painful area the focus of our attention. It doesn't sound right. It sounds counterintuitive, as they say. It should make it worse. But there's ways we can learn to focus on the pain and make it easier. And I'll lead us through that later. So turning toward the pain. And next week, we're going to talk about turning toward emotional pain, which is similar. Thank you. So here's a little exercise I'd like to try. We're just going to sit for a minute, and I want each of us to name whatever feels uncomfortable right now, any pain or discomfort. If nothing, that's okay, but usually we can find something as we get older, right?
Oh, right.
I notice my shoulders, which so often are kind of sore, just kind of, not too bad, but just right here, just kind of feels like a weight, feels like carrying a weight.
I have restless legs, which can drive me crazy once in a while.
What does that feel like?
It's like there's something crawling inside of them, and I actually called Nurse Direct in Palo, who was a nurse, at midnight one night because I walked the floor. I do have pills for it, but they weren't touching it. It just I woke up and my legs were already moving constantly, and so I thought, well, okay, if I get up and walk around, that would help, but nothing helped. It just, I almost went to the emergency room. It was so bad. It just, yeah. It's hard to explain it. but, yeah,
Can you feel it a little bit right now?
yeah,
Yes. Where exactly?
right, all the way down the back, so.
Uh-huh. Thank you. My low back is often sore. It's pretty good right now. Pretty good right now.
You got that too, but then if I go sit down, then for a little bit and rest, then I can go again, but,
Good, yeah.
yeah, if I'm doing something, especially vacuuming,
That's a bad one.
yeah, then it really hurts, so I got myself one of these robot, that helps. But, yeah, and when I do other things, but when it gets to the point where I can't handle it, I go sit down for a little while and then I go again.
Well, that's an important skill too.
I do get pretty stiff when I just sit, but I get up and I keep going and then it goes away the more I move around.
Well, let's focus on how we feel right now. And do we notice anything that feels pleasant right now in our body?
I'm relaxed.
Feeling relaxed. I feel my feet planted on the floor kind of firmly. That kind of feels good.
I forgot to put the thing down. My toes are feeling
Oh
relaxed.
yeah. You want to get your cushion?
No, that's okay. I think I can handle it. I totally forgot about it.
I didn't bring my cushion to raise me up either. I feel my hands touching each other, and that warmth feels good.
Okay.
Where do you feel the relaxation?
My upper body.
Uh-huh.
My head.
Mhm.
I guess the breathing helped because I was moving around at home and come in here and sit down and start breathing. That relaxes me.
So that's one of the things we do in meditation. We notice how we feel right now. We get away from the past and the future, and we just notice what is it like right now. And we all have discomfort, and we all have pleasant feelings.
Right. It's all part of life, right?
Yes. So I've been reading and studying this teacher named Vidyamala Birch, who has studied and worked on how to deal with pain. And she herself has been in severe pain for many years. If you get to see her on a YouTube, she's in a wheelchair lecturing. She broke her back, had multiple surgeries, fell off a horse, all sorts of things. And she still has the pain. But she has been a meditation teacher, and she's learned these ways to help deal with the pain. So she is very happy. She still feels pain, but she can handle it, and she's not suffering like she had been. She had a story about one time she was in the hospital after surgery, and the pain was so severe she could not stand it. But there was nothing to do for it. She was there. And finally she said to herself, Can I stand it for this moment? Yes. And so she just had to take one moment at a time. And that was kind of a breakthrough for her in terms of understanding how to deal with pain. So there's 4 skills that I found she talked about that how mindfulness helps with us with our pain. Now the first one is what we've been doing all along, and you already mentioned it, is that mindfulness is relaxing. So when we're meditating, concentrating on the breath and mindful of our surroundings, it soothes the body, the mind's perception of pain by replacing the anxiety, stress, depression, and exhaustion that goes along with pain with a sense of peace and wholeness. Do you notice that sometimes? So just our basic meditation practice, focusing on the breath, is the first skill that helps us. And of course, next week when we talk about emotional pain, it's huge with that. But even with physical pain, if we're not tensing against the pain, but just breathing with it, it's easier. The second one is mindful movement. And we did that kind of that basic standing yoga a few weeks back. And depending on your pain level, you can do different kinds of mindful movement. If you are confined to a chair or a wheelchair or bed, there are exercises you can do, and there's a couple of things this does. If you can move and move within your limits, it increases your flexibility and strength. Because if you have pain in an area, let's say your knee hurts, you don't want to move it, it's only going to get stiffer and stiffer.
Right.
So moving it. I found it interesting, she said, you want to move it between the soft edge and the hard edge. The hard edge is where it starts to be very painful, and that's where you can cause more damage by doing it. And the soft edge is where you just begin to feel the stretch. So you find that area between the soft edge and the hard edge. And we'll just try a couple of very basic things right now, just sitting here. Let's notice our feet on the floor and take our right foot and slide it forward. Slide it forward as far as we can until you feel the stretch. Where do you feel it? In your calf, in your ankle. Now if you move it too far, it hurts. Now that's too far. Back off a little bit. Breathe. Come back. Now do it with the other leg. Slide the left foot forward until you can feel the stretch. Breathe. Stretch a little bit more. If it hurts, back off a little bit. Sometimes you can get a cramp doing that. Now we're going to go do the right foot again. Bring the left one back and stretch the right foot out. Keep it flat on the floor, stretching. And hold it there for a bit, past the soft edge, but not to the hard edge. And back again. Once more with the left foot, just sliding it forward, keeping it flat on the floor. Feel the stretch. I feel it in my calf. I feel it in the front of my ankle.
Right.
And then back. Here's another one. Twisting the trunk. We did this standing. So try turning your body to the right and see if you feel the stretch. Do you get to a point where it starts to hurt? Back off, come back to center, and turn to the left. Where do you feel the stretch?
Right.
Uh-huh. I feel it down in my low back and in my shoulders. And back. We'll go to the right again. And breathe. Often we start breathing. Back to center and to the left. And breathe with it. And back to center.
It's funny how you forget to breathe when
Yeah, yes it is.
Good thing you said something, because I had
Me too. So, especially if you have a lot of severe chronic pain that limits your movement, doing the mindful movement is particularly helpful. It keeps you limber and it helps deal with the pain as well. And if you do it regularly, you'll notice after a while you can move it a little further.
Right, and that's what I gotta do. I gotta do more of that. So I'm getting too stiff.
Uh-huh.
I won't be able to walk in the airport.
Good, you set a goal for yourself for the next month. Now, of course, walking is great too.
Right.
You can do that. The third thing we already learned is the body scan. In the body scan, you remember we focused on the sensations in our feet going up into our legs, into our back, on our chest, our belly, our arms, up into our head. We just noticed the feelings. So just being aware of sensations in our body is important, and in a little bit I'm going to lead a guided meditation that's a variation of the body scan that goes into this turning toward the pain. The fourth thing that Vidyamala Birch talks about is pacing. She said she was a film editor and she would sit at her computer 4 hours getting work done. And by the end of the 4 hours, she was in so much pain, so tight, she had to quit and lie down for the rest of the afternoon. But she learned that if she worked for 20 minutes and then took a 20-minute break, she could work all day long and get lots more work done.
Yeah. Okay.
So pacing is so important, and the key is to take a break before we need to.
And that I forget to do.
Yeah, it's so simple, but it's something, you know, most of us, we want to push through, get this thing done.
Right, exactly.
But it's going to be a lot better in the long run, and often in the short run, if we say, oh, I don't feel so good right now, I'm going to back off, and then come back to it.
But you get so involved. I started this Diamond Heart stuff. I
Right.
think you, and it's like that one night it was 11:15. I'm like, oh my gosh, the time just goes so fast. But then I'm really stiff when I get to go get up.
Yeah.
So pacing is something I'm gonna have to do.
So probably every once in a while, you can even set a timer for yourself. Say, I'm going to notice how my body feels right now and take a break if I need to.
Mm-hmm.
Or she talks about having a diary and keeping track of what you do and what hurts and how long you can do it, and doing your pacing, and you can find then that if you pace yourself, let's say you can stand walking Remember some of the people here have neuropathy in their feet, they could hardly walk, the walking meditation?
Mm-hmm.
If you could walk for 10 minutes and it starts to hurt, take a break. And you may find, if you keep track of things over time, if you do it regularly, you may be able to increase the amount of time you could do the activity. So I thought this pacing, now I do this with other stuff that doesn't involve pain. Reading. I read a lot, but I notice after 20 minutes or so, my attention starts to wane. I can't pay attention anymore. And so I say to myself, I'm going to take a break.
Right.
I do something else. When I come back to it, then I can concentrate again. So it's so basic, but it's really valuable.
Right, you just don't think about it.
Right, that's right. So I hope we think about it now.
Right.
I've got one more little exercise here that I'd like to do together. Clench your fist and see what happens with your breath. Now relax it. What happens with your breath?
Start holding
You
it.
tend to hold your breath. That's right. Now let's try it again. Clench. Notice the breath. Notice any change in your grip?
Not really.
It may relax a little bit, or you just may notice, even though you're gripping, it's easier because you're breathing.
Oh, okay.
So this is something we all tend to do with pain. We will tense against it and hold our breath,
Okay.
and it makes it worse. So learning to breathe with the pain may help to relax those muscles, and it does relax our emotional response as well. So very simple. So we're going to do a little bit of that right now with the guided meditation.
Okay.
Feel our body sitting here. And we'll do a brief body scan, beginning with our feet, both feet. Notice what we feel in our feet right now. Moving up into our lower legs, what does that feel like? Our knees and upper legs, just noticing any sensations there. Pressure, stretching, maybe no feeling. Notice our butt, the weight on the chair. Notice our low back supporting our body. Notice going up the back. Support, maybe some discomfort somewhere. Notice our belly and our chest moving with each breath. Noticing our shoulders. Notice any feeling in our hands and arms. Bring attention to our neck, front and back and inside. Our face. Now let our attention spread throughout the whole body. And notice a place that is uncomfortable right now, that hurts. Name it in your mind. My feet hurt or my back hurts. And just for a little bit, we're just going to keep our attention on that painful area. We're turning toward the pain. Now, if you can, while you're feeling that pain, notice how bad is it? What's the intensity? Is it mild or kind of bad or really bad? Notice how big of an area it encompasses. Does it spread out or is it a very small pinpoint area? And you may notice as you stay with it that the area changes. Maybe it expands. Maybe it's a lot bigger than you first thought. How deep does it go? Can you feel it? Does it go kind of deep or is it just on the surface? Can you describe the pain in terms of a quality? Is it sharp or dull? Is it a pressure or tingling? As you stay with it, does the pain change? Does it get better or worse? Does the location change? Very often, if we just stay with the pain for a while, we notice it settles down a little bit. And then after a little while, we can let go of our attention and bring our attention back to our breath. Let the sensation of the pain go off to the periphery if we can, and bring our attention to each in and out breath. Now let's just bring our attention back to that painful area again for a bit. Notice what it feels like, where it is. Sometimes it's as if we can notice the pain from a distance. We're not right there, we're just noticing it. We're not reacting to it, we're just staying with it. Now another way of dealing with it is to take our attention to an area of the body that feels good right now. Bring our attention to some pleasant sensations we have right now. Where does it feel good right now? And just focus on that area. Seeking the pleasant is a skill. Gives us time to recover from the pain, heal, notice that there are good things in our body. And we can close with a few deep breaths, just noticing how we feel right now. So like all of these meditations, these are skills we can learn by practicing them. Particularly if we tend to have chronic pain, staying with this and learning to let go of the pain and return to the breath, to turn toward the pain and notice what it feels like, and then to seek pleasant sensations. And next week, we're going to do the same thing with emotional pain.
Okay. That was interesting though, because I could feel the pressure, and as we were going through it, it seemed like it was not right where I thought it was. It was off, like you said, off in a distance. That was weird.
I had a patient this week who we did this class on Tuesday, and the next day she had a painful procedure done at the hospital, and she said she was able to kind of just view what was going on more from a distance, like noticing it and it didn't hurt as bad as she thought it would.
Okay. Wow.
So, thank you, Joanne, for being here, and some of you got to watch this too, because I think these are important skills we can learn. If you have a lot of chronic pain, this book by Vidya Malaburch and Danny Penman called You Are Not Your Pain takes you through these exercises and a bunch more. It's an 8-week program that includes meditation audio tracks, using mindfulness to relieve pain, reduce stress, and restore well-being. It is very good.
Okay, well, thank you.
We'll see you next week,
Yes.
and I hope some of you can come in person next week. Otherwise, keep watching. Next week will be our last for this class. Next week, I plan to return those cards you gave me the first week that talked about issues, and we'll kind of maybe talk briefly about if some things in the class have worked on that. And as always, doing these things regularly works. Taking this class for 8 weeks and then forgetting about it, well, at least you got a taste of it, but if you keep doing it, it's going to really help. So try to have a daily practice. Do your informal practice. When you're washing the dishes, just wash the dishes.
Yeah. The mind just goes off in so many directions.
It sure does.
So now I've learned to, okay, take a deep breath and let it go.
Very good. That's a skill.
So, okay, well,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I'll tell Rebecca we're done for today, and thank you, Joanne.
Well, thank you, see you next week.
Drive home safe. That's too
Yeah.
far.
I've got, what, a block. Okay, thank you.